In this lesson, we'll discuss the process to enter your March for Babies chair and their new revenue commitment in FRED. This requires the name of the person, all of their contact information, and the sources of new revenue. This information, after entered into FRED, will allow us to effectively track the chair's overall effectiveness in raising new revenue. Tracking the progress of your March for Babies chair happens through a report, the P25, which is the Chair Effectiveness Report. I wanted to show you an example of what it looks like once you've really done all the mapping. So once you've run the P25, you can see the name of the person, the revenue chair role, etc. in the last year, all the sponsorship commitments and asks. So this P25 is really the report that we'll be looking at as you're doing the tracking and mapping. Mapping the source of all new revenue is like creating a wonderful soup. You should have all of your ingredients ready before you can put it together. Let's look at all the ingredients for successful mapping by taking it one step at a time. First, make sure the event is active in the campaign year you're working with. Check with your chapter operations person or your March for Babies director to see how to make this happen. Locate your chair in FRED in the People Lookup tab. Click All Campaign Years and All Campaigns. The person probably is not active in the current campaign, so select No just to be safe. Enter last name of the person and first name, which is required when you're doing a people search. Doing this will avoid having duplicate records. I'm also going to select all roles just in case this person is in a variety of different roles in FRED. So I've entered Jane Doe, selected all roles, and now I'm going to click Search. FRED will be doing the conducting of the search, as you can see here. Then scroll down as you're getting your results. You can see this is the reason why we're doing the duplicate search look, that we have 133 different Jane Does. Since I know the Jane Doe I'm looking for came from Westchester County, I can do the drop-down box on the event location, scroll down to find Westchester County, and I know that she was available sometime in the 2014 campaign, so I'm going to look for that. Now that I feel certain I have the Jane Doe that I've recruited as my March for Babies chair, I'll go to her name, click on that, and it's going to take me to her individual record. What I need to do at this point is make sure that I have all the address and contact information from her, not just in the personal side, but if we scroll down, we'll see that we also have a business profile record. So you can do it here on this individual tab. Note that I already have the business information and contact information in here for Jane, so this looks good. Now I'm ready to go ahead and enter her role. Let's go back up to the screen and click on the tab that says Revenue Chair. Go ahead now and enter the role for your person, this Jane Doe, using the drop-down box where we see Revenue Chair. By the way, in FRED it will say Revenue Chair, which is synonymous to March for Babies chair. We're in New York, and we need to check the event location, which here is Westchester County. Now it's an important part that we're going to add the new revenue. Now this is the total new revenue for that event location that Jane has committed herself to. So by revenue stream, let's say that Jane has said she's going to come up with, let's say, $100,000 in new participant dollars, maybe $50,000 in promotions, and another $10,000 in corporate sponsorship. Notice I was entering into the revenue streams. It was populating itself over on the right-hand side in the total dollar of new commitment. Next, search for the chair's own company by clicking the Select button. A search box will appear. Remember, prior to doing this and prior to searching for Jane Doe, you also made sure that this company also existed in FRED. So here we click on the drop-down box. Here we're looking for a team. It's going to ask you to search. The search box will appear. Let's go down a little bit here. And you enter the name of the team or CSO. And click Search. Here we see that this is the correct team, so we click on that. And now it sits right here, and we're ready to work with that. Once you have the right team selected and you've seen it in the search box up above, let's scroll up and look at it one more time. Here we are. So we made sure that we have the right company. This person's new, their company. Make sure you go down and click Save. Notice now what pops up are these blue boxes where the new commitment that we entered before was there. So that's good. Now we scroll down a little bit more and we see the person's company that we found. So now it's time to put in the revenue that this person, this Jane Doe, says from her own team, the March for Babies company team, is going to also take responsibility for. You click on the pencil. Notice that the color of the boxes changes a little bit. And from Jane Doe's own company, the March for Babies team company, she said that they would make $50,000 of participant dollars, $5,000, let's say, in promotion dollars, and $5,000 perhaps in sponsorship. Once we've entered that, go back and see the green check mark, click on that, and that is, in essence, is the Save button for entering this commitment. Now you need to set aside everything regarding the March for Babies chair. You won't be able to complete the mapping process without first preparing the other ingredients, just as we talked about earlier. So just as you did with your chair, you need to locate or add the name of a revenue leader or member of the executive leadership team into FRED and enter the required information. So essentially we're going to follow the same steps that we did as we are looking for doing the search for Jane Doe by going to the Look Up People tab. In this case, we're looking for a friend of Jane's named John Doe. So we've entered in John Doe in the name field. As before, all years, all campaigns, probably not active in the current campaign. And then we wanted to select all roles just to make sure that we're covering all our bases in there, and we click Search. Once again, Fred is conducting his search and coming up with a number of search results. Scrolling down, we see that there are 17 John Does that meet our criteria. And as before, wanting to find the correct John Doe that we're looking for, from Westchester County, I know that this is probably my John Doe. I'm going to select him, just double checking, and there we have his record. Now that we have our John Doe record, we're looking at his individual record. Let's scroll down just to double check and make sure that we have the right information about John. And that, as before, we want to make sure that we have not only his participant profile, but his business profile. Let's just check and see what's in here. Everything is in here. That looks good. Okay. Now we're ready to go, as we did before, to the Revenue Chair tab. And as before, we're going to select the role. Now in this case, John is going to be a revenue leader. And I'll just double check and make sure I've got him in the right chapter. And the correct event location, which here is Westchester County. And as before, we can enter in the new revenue commitment. And once again, remember, this is his new revenue commitment for that event location that he has said that he has committed to. So in here, John's part of that revenue commitment, or piece of that pie, if you will, he may say, I have $50,000 in participant dollars, maybe $5,000 in promotions, and perhaps another $5,000 in corporate sponsorship. And as we've seen before, that starts totaling up over on this side as well. Now what we need to do with John, now that we've totaled up and he's entered in we've entered in the total commitment that we have for his new money, is select and find his team or company that he's associated with. Here I've said team. And I'd done a search already, so I had clicked search. And I have found here's John Doe's company that I located that he's going to be associated with. So I click on that. And see, I brought it up into here. Now I'm ready to work on that record. So go down below and click Save. And we see that John's company. So once again, here's his overall commitment and total. And here is his company. And we click on the pencil. So we can enter in dollars. And perhaps of his own company, from his overall revenue commitment, he says he will come up with $2,500 in participant dollars, maybe $1,000 in promotion dollars, and $1,000 in corporate sponsorship. And as we do, we go over and click on the green check mark, which is the save feature for saving this total. It's important to note in any of this process, for instance up here in the overall new revenue, either with the March for Babies Chair or the revenue leader, that you can edit any of these by clicking on the edit box, or you can delete it totally. Also from the row down here, so let's edit this in John Doe's record. All you have to do is simply again is click on the pencil. And perhaps John underestimated his total participant dollars, so let's increase that to, say, $10,000. Once again, though, when you edit or do anything in there, go down and do the green check mark to save. Notice now that we saved. At any given time, too, you can take a look at this in relationship. So he has a $12,000 total commitment in relationship to the $60,000 total that he said he was going to bring in. John's going to need to add more either revenue leaders or teams that will assist him in achieving his new revenue goal. As you can see, since he's at $12,000 from his company, still with a total revenue commitment of $60,000. This is just why making sure that all the ingredients are ready in Fred before you start mapping totally back to your chair. So let's take a look. So John's going to find another person or team. Let's say that he has another team that he knows of that he works with on a fairly regular basis he's going to find. Same search as before. Conducting the search. Identifying the right team. As you can see here, I'm just using March of Dimes for our test case here. Finding the right team. Adding it in. So notice that we have it here. Once it's there, we can add it to the amount down here. Now what we could have done before is we could have put some money in those boxes, but I went ahead and added it to the listing for John. So in here you can do two things. We can do the pencil to add dollars. You can leave it here just so that we know that we're creating a pipeline. Maybe he hasn't talked to them with regards to what he's adding, but he's adding it to his pipeline. Or something changes, you can simply put it into the trash can. This is the way of getting rid of a string down below. We don't have the trash can for John up here because this is his own team. So that's the difference between no trash can and a trash can. But we could indeed add dollars in here by clicking on the pencil as we've done before. If we're not ready to add revenue in there, we could go up and we could actually add another team in there by doing the same thing. Team or CSO. I've been using team because they're in there, but indeed you can add another CSO. Just to be sure, however, just as a business process note, make sure that you can only have one team assigned to one person doing that. So if you already have a person attached to a team or CSO, you'd have to find another CSO or team to attribute that to. We've been talking about building ingredients to put into the overall pot for the March for Babies chair. Here we've done it with John Doe, who we made a revenue leader, and started mapping out his revenue, where it's coming from. So indeed you can do the same thing by adding yet another revenue leader by following the same process as we did before, by going to the People Lookup tab and actually locating and identifying another revenue leader in addition to John Doe. So let's say that we've done that, but now it's time actually to go back to your March for Babies chair record and start pulling everything back. You've got all your ingredients ready, and you can keep building on this. So you start this process, but you keep building on it as you identify more people, or as your March for Babies chair identifies more people. So we want to go back to the People Lookup screen, and let's find Jane Doe one more time. Finding her record. I could narrow it down to Westchester. And there's Jane. Notice now that we have her assigned as the event revenue chair for 2015 in the Westchester County. We can go to her record, and there it sits as it did before, her new revenue commitment, in addition to what her team said that it was going to bring in. So just below the new revenue commitment overall for Jane, and as you can see down below is her commitment, it's time to pull in those ingredients that we've entered. So in the drop-down box, we know we've entered a revenue leader. So let's search for John Doe. So in here we know we have John Doe. And search. And there he is. Once you find him, and that is him, see he's assigned the role of revenue leader. Click on John's name. He's there, and now click Add. Notice now that John's overall revenue commitment, you're not seeing his other commitment because that's tied to him, but right now you're seeing his overall commitment in relationship to the total overall commitment that we have here. So here's John's $60,000 in revenue commitment. He has the responsibility for the other things he said he's going to do. And then here's the March for Babies team commitment. So you can see that we have commitments here of $120,000 in relationship to the overall $160,000 total new event revenue commitment. Spice up your recipe even more and continue to add other CSOs, teams, or revenue leaders you've identified who are going to help generate new revenue, just following the same process as we've seen before. Either looking them up, making sure they're searchable in Fred through either the team lookup screen or people lookup screen. This is going to be your continued recipe for success as you're mapping to your March for Babies chair.